a rematch of the upper bracket round 1 of the playoffs. I'm Vodible. We got Zojalyx back in the booth, and we'll be quickly getting to another best of 1 between Goats Esports and Chikara chatting to see who will make it on into a grand final. Best of 5 game advantage. Got to go late into the evening, into Wednesday in the East Coast. I was going to say Eastern Conference, but there's no conferences in this. But it's going to be a great time depending on what the map is, what the awakenings are, and what we expect to see from these two teams. But Goats Esports, they looked pretty decent against Demons Raw, but that is the team to beat. They beat Sad Boys during NASA recently. Definitely recommend checking out the VOD on Bestie and Slot on Twitch for that, and checking out really all the action that's been happening with NASA that we've been uploading to this YouTube channel too. And also, if you're watching this and you aren't subscribed, subscribe on YouTube, because I upload all the VODs for everything. I'll be cutting down all these matches too, putting those up as well. We also have 3 past NASA VODs to upload this week too, so keep an eye out for those as we upload those throughout the week and into the weekend. Speaking of NASA, next week is week 6, the Super Week on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll be streaming that on twitch.tv/Vodible, so definitely keep an eye out for that. But we got Oni Village. We're in here for the long haul, Zojalyx, between these two teams, and we got Goats Esports on the blue side this time.
Yeah, it'll be nice to get a little bit of a break from the craziness that was Obscura in the last series, but I'm excited to see Oni Village here. I actually personally, from a casting point of view, as much as it is a long map and matches do tend to just go longer on Oni Village, I actually do quite like it. And now we're seeing the Atlas and the Chikara banned out on the 2 sides. Honestly not too surprising to see these 2 bans come out.
Yeah, especially with the way that we've seen things go before. Chikara is a very prominent pick for Kilius, I believe it is, on the goalie side for Goats Esports, so they want to make sure they get rid of them, and Chikara's kind of a nuisance to play against on Oni Village, just because the Xeno Cloak and how much extra speed they get. Also depends on what those opening awakenings are between these 2 teams, and then what was the other band again?
It was Atlas.
Yeah, Atlas also pretty decent goalie on Oni Village too. Just when you can just camp on one of the goal barriers and use your what is it called, the Cosmic Expanse, so that you don't have to worry too much about defending it in any which way. But we see kind of a standard comp between these teams. Juliette being featured here as well, but Juliette on one side, Asher on the other side. Asher's, from what I've heard, is just a better Juliette recently with the different patches that have come out so far. And speaking of coming out, we do see stacks on stacks across the board from everyone.
Yeah, and this, so we're gonna be in for a very everybody's gonna be zooming around the map. Now I'm always one of those people too, whenever I'm looking at games, even competitive games, I always like to dive really probably way too deep into the lore of the games. So excited to see the entire Frostfire roster being seen put together on a team. So
that's true.
Happy to see that. But we're already off to a pretty bloody start. We've already had 1 KO, and Kilius is going to be getting pretty low themselves. Hopefully they won't be seeing the outside of the ring here anytime soon, though.
I do love the comps of both these teams as well. I mean, the Asher, Estelle, and Kai is also a solid pickup, but Appabug able to get the final touch on this play here for the side of Chikara chatting to get that one on through. Completely different style than the last game we saw against Eris Kitten Club, where they couldn't get the first goal until that final set where they 3-0'd, but now going to come down to this one for them. And Lyarri looking for something, got the Rose Warp, tried to use the core flip, but it didn't really need it just because the momentum behind that Rose Warp strike onto the core was able to get that final gold barrier. And I do like Dubu on Oni Village just because you can use the Tofu Fortress pretty decently to either go for a KO or just zone out your gold barrier as best as possible, depending on the awakenings.
Yeah, there are a lot of options that do come from playing Dubu on this map, and Lyarri is able to put one away too. And I love too seeing going very back from the previous game where we're seeing a completely different Chikara chatting. Appabug on the Juliette, Lyarri on the Estelle, and EvilDrewDanger on the Dubu versus the Rune, Kai, and Asher that we saw in the last game. And I think that is going to make it hard to counter because you obviously can see a team that knows how to play different strikers, and you can already see her playing them very well with already being up 2 goals.
so curious to know exactly what the map and comp was for their first matchup, but you can go back to, I think Fudgy Waffle was streaming, and see exactly what happened down there in his VOD on Twitch with the way that they were performing before. But both these two teams doing all that they can to either hold on to the final goal barrier if you're talking about Chikara chatting, or get it down for Goats Esports, who are looking to make a comeback against Demons Raw into that grand final after they barely lost to them on Atlas Lab in that game 2 in the winners final that we saw earlier, that Vaughn, Joker, and their lovely co-commentator that I keep forgetting the name of, Cardinals.
Cardinals, yeah.
Was able to do, as we see a 3-0 for Chikara chatting. They are on a tear, Zojalyx.
Absolutely. This is a great start to go fresh from the win, and then now to go and 3-0 in your first set against arguably the team to beat. And now here we are in our carousel. We've got Primetime available for Primetime Tuesday. Exactly what we want to see. Appabug picking up that Catalyst, which is going to make that Juliette even more of a threat. Not surprising to see, though, the Kai picking. Honestly, these are pretty standard picks here between the Missile Prop, the Primetime, Super Surge,
solid, yeah. I mean, good picks all around for the most part for all these players, as we see some decent picks here from across the board as far as the Awakenings go. So really the Awakenings draft, I don't think really going to do too much for these two teams based on what we've seen so far. Based on the gameplay, Chikara chatting, they were dominant in that first set, and I think they're going to continue that unless we see just a different game plan, different play style. Goats Esports on Only Village here. Again, being a best of one, no second chances if they do go down another set.
No, that's true. This could be a very scary situation for Goats Esports if they do see a repeat of the first set, but we're already seeing this one's going pretty back and forth. EvilDrewDanger is playing pretty aggressive, but unfortunately, you gotta win your strike wars, as I Love Albion will be the first one to put a goal in for Goats Esports.
First goal on the board for I Love Albion, which is just a great player name, and I think that is, who is it on their roster? That's actually, well, I guess they go by I Love Albion. Never mind. I thought they had a different name before, but maybe not. Either way, they love Albion, but they also love Omega Strikers, and they love scoring goals on this Asher here with the way that they've been performing, sticking to those speed lanes as best as possible, because Asher, not really the fastest on this map compared to some of the other ones, unless you get some decent speed Awakenings, and I think Glass Cannon's no longer available for a lot of these strikers, so they can't really do too much with that. Have to rely on those up and bottom lanes. You can see them just sticking onto one side. Goal barriers down galore, and there goes the final one on the map for EvilDrewDanger, is just trying to keep it up as best as possible. And see I Love Albion just being a nuisance like Appabug was in the last game, and is currently being here too, but had no range on that punch, so is not even going to connect with Kilius and get the goal.
I wonder how much of the comp decisions between picking the Dubu in the goal and having I Love Albion picking up that Asher was decided, being comfortable knowing that you have the speed boost on the side for Oni Village, as well as stacks on stacks being one of your Awakenings, that really helps to prevent some of that speed. But Appabug almost getting a shot in the corner, but Kilius had a beautiful save. And even for it being Dubu, that's a pretty fast Dubu, and
that's
Lyarri
a great combo.
Puts that one in.
You saw the pressure from Appabug. Lyarri had the vision too, was able to snipe it away using that missile propulsion. If they didn't have missile propulsion, I said it might not come down to the Awakenings, but it definitely did with that piercing shot to put it through and tie things up for Lyarri.
And Lyarri having a beautiful patience on that kickoff. While it did end up now evening, well, no, they're even up on the goal barrier, so I guess what I was going to say didn't really matter.
That's how it goes sometimes. But looking at those goal barriers, Kilius really playing more towards the midfield to try and support the rest of their teammates as best as possible. Stick away from Appabug. Because again, an issue with Juliette on this map is Juliette not really the fastest too. So again, stacks on stacks does help a little bit there instead of going for a Zentaro, for what you would typically see sometimes based on how confident people are on that strike. But Appabug definitely more of a bruiser with the Asher or with the Juliette in this instance, as they do get the dash punch, they do get the KO and the goal. 2-1. One more goal means one more set for Chikara chatting to have played the maximum possible games ever to make it into that grand final.
That was a very beautiful Juliette combo there from Appabug. Beautiful secure, not just of the KO, but of the goal, and to just really help to give Chikara Chatting this opportunity to go into the grand finals and try and win this whole one. It's going to be a matter of endurance for them, but honestly, they're showing that even though they've played an incredible amount of games, they are not stopping this momentum. As Appabug will be winning that strike war and putting Chikara Chatting only one set away from securing a spot into the grand finals.
EvilDrewDanger again as a goalie, able to get that MVP and has their pick of the litter for really whatever they want to take here at this point in time.
Yeah,
so curious what they're going to go for. Is it going to be size? Is it going to be creation? Yeah, definitely size. They also definitely don't want that to be going to I Love Albion, who's going to take the tempo swing instead, which is different. Solid pickup. Aerial's going to be nice as well for that Estelle. Egoist is pretty solid too. Peak performance, I mean, that's pretty good for the Juliette for extra speed from their stagger and more stagger so that they can move around and zip around as best as possible. And I didn't quite see what Kiliast also picked up the cast last, so that I think it is their secondary is also going to last a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's gonna be that's gonna be really helpful for Kiliast, just especially in a map that's so open and big like Oni Village. Being able to have as much mobility as possible is gonna be absolutely crucial for these two teams. And now we're seeing Appabug hitting up that level 6 and going to get that second barrier, and does manage to get it. This is a great start for Chikara Chatting.
Oh, so close from Appabug too. You can already tell the speed's looking so much better since they picked up that peak performance in that Awakening draft. EvilDrewDanger just kind of juggling this one around, trying to see what they can do with it. Dubu rolls forward, but can't get a KO or much of a bump onto the other players. Just makes it a bit of a nuisance for Kiliast to try and clear it away using that Tofu Fortress. But the Path Splitter, I don't know if that was really the right move, but it helped defend a little bit from that upper quarter and relieve some pressure on the Kiliast, who is feeling it from Appabug throughout this entire game.
Absolutely. And Appabug now looking for an opportunity, goes in for the 1v1, but does not quite win that one out as the core does get cleared away. There is an opportunity here for the side of Goats Esports, as Fudgy Waffles has a core flip, is going to be able to knock down that goal barrier, but now EvilDrewDanger using their core flip to get the goal out, to get the core out, and Lyarri is going to go for the pass, unfortunately doesn't find the goal there.
I think we had a strike shot come out from Kiliast to somehow get that away while Appabug was pressuring them on the defensive ends. Just the way that they've had some of the vision necessary to be able to defend these plays and keep them at a 0-0 scoreline into such a long overtime already. Crystal Thorns not able to really do too much. I Love Albion with that upper lane was solid, but the Rose Warp from Lyarri perfectly timed to get that one away.
As an Estelle main, that made me very, very happy to see. That was beautiful.
Beautiful as can be. Lyarri patiently waiting too. Achilles somehow saved it away. Great timing on both ends, and a goal barrier goes down the other direction, and they win something from it, but they need the second one down to at least have a chance to tie up this set before they can even try and think about tying up the series, because they still have to pull off a full reverse sweep to take down the other side. Only have been able to scrounge up a single goal so far in this game on Oni Village against Chikara Chatting, but there goes the goal barrier on both ends, even playing field for the most part, but the pressure is definitely on, and that missile propulsion on Lyarri has been paying dividends so far.
I love seeing missile propulsion on Estelle. Not only does she already have a lot of range, but the missile propulsion just becomes absolutely huge for her to not only be a nuisance from midfield, but even staying even farther back and being effective. But Fudgy Waffles, either way, is able to answer back for Goats Esports.
Oof. Nice answer back too for Fudgy Waffles there, and it's the first time we've seen them be able to be as effective as they would hope on this Estelle. Lyarri has definitely been outshining them on Estelle, but the KO off the side is going to be huge for Chikara Chatting, even after the goal barrier goes down. And speaking of that too, goal barrier is down on the other side. This is the time to come back, at least to get the lead again for the side of Chikara Chatting. Almost see it happen there with the flurry, but the piercing shot for the KO. Appabug with the follow through, nothing nothing Albion and Kilius can do for the save. 1 goal away as Chikara chatting to booking their ticket into the grand final.
EvilDrewDanger had such a crucial core flip there, taking down both barriers. That just made it so much easier for the rest of Chikara chatting to go through and do what they needed to do. But we're seeing Appabug immediately taking down one of the barriers, but it will be quickly responded to. Lyarri has her core flip available. Let's see how she uses it here. Nice attempt there, but Kilius was ready for it.
That they were ready as they can be, but both goal barriers are down, and so are the hopes and dreams of Goats Esports, who already beat this team before in the upper bracket. Appabug sneaks it through, and it will be Chikara chatting, playing the maximum amount of games possible, but still making it into that grand final against Demons Raw.
Honestly, you couldn't have asked for a better rematch for Chikara chatting here against Goats Esports, as they've managed to, I guess they lost in their first game around, and then they win their way all the way back and get complete and total revenge. Just absolutely taking out Goats Esports here, only allowing 2 goals throughout the entire series. I mean, if you're Chikara chatting, you got to be feeling pretty good after that one.
You really do have to feel great, but Appabug 6 goals on the Juliette, definitely a great pick, but Lyarri, MVP for me for the most part, just with the positioning we saw from them, the setups as well from her. She was doing so much great work on offense with this missile propulsion Estelle, and that's exactly what you want to see from an Estelle at the midfield line. EvilDrewDanger too on the Dubu goalie, just supporting them too, but I mean, we saw the other side of Goats Esports do what they could. It's just they were outclassed a lot of times, especially after that first set. And then eventually the Awakening's draft just proved to be too overwhelming for them to combat against. So now getting to see what goes down in the grand final. Best of 5 reminder and game advantage for Demons Raw. Demons Raw will only need to win 2 games to get that victory and claim the winning prize, because again, Sad Boys weren't playing in this event too, is a big thing to note for those Primetime Tuesday fans. They've won 11, so they're like taking a breather this time. Had some meetings, had some other stuff, had some casting for us too. And speaking of casting, thank you Zojalyx for joining me for these last 2 matches. It's been pretty great to cast with you again, but also get some casting in myself and see how these teams are developing throughout the different weeks in the 2nd season now of Omega Strikers.
Absolutely. It's so cool to be able to see just how the teams and the game has developed, not just like how the game has developed from a like development Odyssey standpoint, but from a player standpoint, the things that players are able to come up with, the new mechanics that are being brought forth just by the creativity of the players is so awesome. And to be able now to experience it from a casting side, continuing to be a part of this era of the game's history has just been super awesome. So thank you, Vodible, for allowing me to be able to be out here and cast, especially for me as a newer caster, only really getting into it because of Omega Strikers. It really does mean a lot to me to be out here.
It's been great to see you grow so far through your casting journey, Zojalyx, and see everyone who's been enjoying the Omega Strikers content so far. But we're not done just yet. We still have the grand finals between Chikara chatting and Demons Raw in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be taking a quick ad break. We'll be back with that matchup.
Flame hidden in my heart. Didn't know how to grow from a single fire spark. But let it go when the road was dark. Couldn't wait, then I had it's time to move and make my mark. I gave my pride, left all my regret. I just wish to be stronger, to give it all my best. What do I do to spread this burning courage? Every day, every night I'm stuck inside of my head. I'm gonna stay, grind today. Wanna be somebody leading the way. Don't be afraid, gotta be brave. No matter what's coming our way.